Welcome to Holding Down the Fort by U.S. VetWealth. I'm your host, Jen Amos, a Gold Star daughter, veteran spouse, and upcoming author. This season, we're helping seasoned spouses explore new opportunities and ideas outside the military so that they can make more confident choices for their next chapter. Why? Because you too are retiring, and now it's your turn. Let's get started. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. If this is your first time listening to Holding Down the Fort, I highly recommend that you go back to the previous episode 225. That is part one of this conversation. This episode is now part two of that conversation with Keyani. In that last episode, we welcomed Keyani back to the show. She's been on the show several times now, and we learned a little bit about her involvement with the Rosie Network and how she maintains that relationship with the Rosie Network. We also introduced her new framework, MRSP Framework, or Mrs. P for short. And we talked about how ChatGPT helped clarify Keyani's original thought to create this framework. In our conversation today, we will continue going through the framework. We will cover the next two letters next, responsibility and standard, and more to come. So enjoy this conversation. And if you haven't already, I highly, highly recommend that you subscribe to InsideTheFort.com because Keyani has something really exciting to share that will be revealed in the show notes of this episode and in the upcoming newsletter. So once again, make sure you subscribe to InsideTheFort.com and enjoy this conversation. You know, it gets me to think that because in the military community, there are a lot of like military spouses or even active duty who do stuff on the side or, you know, have a side hustle or a business. And I think that entrepreneurship is, even if you don't become a millionaire, which most of us won't, but like it's more of like, I think it's a good exercise to practice self-awareness and introspection and understanding your why, as they say. And because otherwise, you know, like you mentioned earlier, I think because you're focused on serving, it is very easy to like go through the motions or put certain things on autopilot. But it sounded like you had this like unknown, undescribable, like restlessness inside, or like you were searching for something. You just didn't have the words for it, you know? And then, you know, thus you have something like ChatGPT to allow you to kind of brain dump and have it, you know, make observations of you. So I just feel like for anyone that's listening to this, if you feel this restlessness inside of you that you can't describe, it sounds to me, it sounds to me like just like what you did and how you came up with your framework. I mean, ChatGPT, and there's so many different AI chats out there today. I mean, personally for me, ChatGPT is my favorite, I guess because it was one of the first that I was exposed to. But there are a lot of free ChatGPT or AI chats that is just such a basic way to get started of like, okay, like there's something in me. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it. And maybe I just need to start somewhere. Like maybe I'm not ready to hire someone, but like using something like ChatGPT is a great way to start. So that's what I'm hearing from you.
It was, I mean, I can't even have the moment when ChatGPT was like, oh, this is what you do. I was like, you are so right. Like, and so I'm thinking to myself, I could probably remember a scenario when I was probably 17 when I wasn't even thinking about it. But it was just my method, my way of trying to dig through probably the mess, I would probably say, to make it clear. So I think that was definitely, if you can't figure it out, just tell ChatGPT, have a little friendly conversation, you know, and it'll help you figure it out. But don't have it be your brain for you. Tell it what you want in bed.
Exactly.
But always say what I don't. Tell me anything else or tell me what to do. Just give me perspective on what I'm telling you.
You know, I'm just saying this because you just sparked an idea. I think I'm going to use ChatGPT to create like a mini workbook of this conversation, to just get started with the mindset. Like, I mean, everything we just said, I totally ChatGPT, just tell me, or Carol, tell me, tell me, how do I make an ebook, make like a quick ebook on what we just spoke about? Because I think that even before people want to hire anyone, they want to do their own research, or at least most people do. And so what a great way to start somewhere, so that, let's say if they come to you, it's like, hey, this is what I have. This is what I've clarified. But now, I have the mindset, but now I want to get to the next part, which is responsibility. So Keyani, how do I do that? What does that next step look like in the framework?
Really, like I said, once we start going through the mindset thing, and so the two tools that I actually created for that, it's just two things made like a journal or whatever, but it was more so because I just need to get your mind thinking in a different way. So if you keep thinking the same way, then it's not. It's almost like I need to auto start you to start thinking different, so that when you do decide to go to the next step, you're already ready to think different. Because the hardest thing to do is get people to move from one place to another, especially if they feel like, I think I got it. 12 out of 10, you don't got it. Like, it just is, especially when, again, if you're going whatever level you are now to another level, whether that's, you want to be a better salesperson in your business, you want to be like, whatever that next thing that you're going to, you are not the person to make yourself go there. It's just not. I even have a business coach. I don't play around with that. So I just know that there's some next levels. My brain doesn't work like that. I'm not going to force it. So again, once you start automatically getting them to think different, and like, again, I have these ways that my methods, and that's why I came up with the mindset thing. So I came up with methods to make you do that. And then once you, again, this aha moment that comes within, you're like, I haven't really been doing this like to the degree that, and so that next thing is, okay, what does owner look like? Now we start to dive into, what does that actually look like for you? Do you know what that looks? Do you understand what that? But it also goes back to you, whatever your business is, if you don't understand what your mission, your vision, your why, all of those questions that is normally asked of, a person starting a business, which a lot of business owners don't always know that. And so that's another reason why you want to work with somebody, because they'll ask you that question, like, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is the thing that you want to see the world change it to, based on, what you have, or the group of people that you're serving? What do you want to see them? And then again, like, doing that mission, that vision, and that overall why, the problem and solution. So now that you have that and you understand, and I've already shifted your mind, then that responsibility, you want to see this thing come to fruition. You want to see it. You think of that person that you're trying to help, and you're like, you think about the state in which they are, because this is the problem that you've observed. And you think about how it might be making their life worse, or how you can help make their life better, or how it's taking time or effort or freedom or whatever that is that is taken away from them. And now you're so invested in, making this difference for them. You just take on that responsibility. But it comes with, again, that shift of the mind. But then if you don't understand the pieces of your business, that mission, the vision, and all of that, then in those two, it still makes it harder for you to actually take on that responsibility. It makes it look easier, but until you understand that side of your business, then it's still going to be the thing that you're always like, that you're trying to find.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from you is that you have to be crystal clear in having a blueprint, and like the mindset is all about having this, like you said, mission, vision, all those things. And to me, it sounds like a blueprint. And so if you don't have that very clear blueprint, then the execution, it may, you may be building upon an unstable foundation.
I
And
had
so it
those.
is, it, yeah. It's like, whoops, forgot a little details there. And, some people may operate that way, but like when I think of even just hearing you talk about how you like to teach the service CEO, like cohort members, like you teach and then you have them apply, it makes me think about how the military mind works and how important it is to have that foundation first, have that mindset first, before execution. Because like you said, you can't just execute because you
Yeah.
might accidentally kill someone, especially in the military,
Right.
which we don't want to happen. But, luckily, like I think for the person listening to this, this is more about how do you apply this in like your personal life, or if you want to do something else different for post-military life. But it does come down to clarifying that clear vision, that having that clear mindset, so that once you start to execute, once you start to build, there's less cracks in the foundation. So that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. And honestly, if you think about the military, what is the first thing that you're going to go through basic training? They're going to start breaking down your version of what you think the military is from the door, stripping your regular clothes, your hair. They're already starting to get into your mind to let you know this is you're going to start. This is what you should start becoming and looking like. This is how you're going to act. So they're already starting to shift your mind from the time you step into MIPS. Like they're stripping those clothes. So they're changing you from there. So it's the same thing. You're in the beginning. They don't wait until you get on the ship or to the station to say you are, such and such. No, you get that from the time you step into MIPS and they take those regular civilian clothes off.
Yeah. And so would you say that the journal that you offer, so it's titled You Set the Meaning, it's a 7-day journal. Would you say that is like the training wheels you would suggest for someone, let's say, to independently work on their mindset first?
Yes, I definitely suggest that. Again, like I said, the journal in the book is because you need to start shift. You have to. It's not even a if I do it or when I do you. That's number one. Don't do that first. Nothing else is gonna matter. It was a conversation that Kid and I were having with people they're sticking with the program or sticking with or just sticking with it. And one of the things I was saying is, well, we just offered them to have an idea of what, entrepreneurship is, but we never made their mind think like an entrepreneur first. So now we're struggling in the end, in the alumni stage, trying to get them to connect because they don't understand the concepts of connecting as an entrepreneur and how important that is, because that brain didn't shift over because we didn't shift it in the beginning. We just gave them the stuff. So unless they were already unless they were already doing some type of work themselves before they even started, then that they end, and then you might never see them again, you might never talk to them again, there's no connection, there's no nothing, they've just kind of gone on about the business. But when the mind was shifted at some point in the beginning, before they started going through it, they're naturally just going to gravitate because they realize that they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting to hear because it almost sounds like you can easily take that military mindset into, let's say, going to the service CEO program and just go with the flow and follow what's being told. Like you just essentially you're following orders again, just in a different environment. And what you're trying to say is to awaken the mind. Like you can't just continue to go through the motions, especially as an entrepreneur. At least being an entrepreneur, you have to be very intentional about what you're doing because you're not an employee. Like there's a difference between being an employee versus an entrepreneur. So it just makes sense. I really like that you're pressing to have that self-awareness, to have that like awakening. And part of why I'm highlighting this a lot too is because I think about the work that we're doing at our company, VetWealth, and we offer solutions in the private sector that the average civilian knows about, but people in the military don't.
Right.
And so part of that is helping them understand. In the military, you're given A, B, and C, but like in the civilian world, you're allowed to have a second opinion. You're allowed to explore more customizable solutions for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on that mission too, to try to articulate how to make that mindset shift, because like you don't know what you don't know, and you can't really like label what you can't describe,
Right.
And so I hope that in just having this conversation and putting a heavy emphasis on mindset and talking about your journal, the 7-day journal, you set the meaning, hopefully, our listeners will take that first step of, let's say, downloading your journal, or, we were talking about earlier, talking about ChatGPT, and just starting that process, just saying like, hey, there's something in me. I don't know what it is, but I need to do a brain dump.
Right. Right. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about mindset and we talked about responsibility. Now tell us about the third word in the acronym, S for standard.
Yeah. Okay. So like you said, you have your mindset, you have your responsibility, and it's totally up to you, the standard that you're going to do that. I just remember for me being trained in cosmetology, one of the things is really big today is that quality that you're getting that is going to be doing your hair. But people feel like that in anything that they're going to get from you. So it's up to you, that level of quality, that level of standard, that level of how you're going to just internally operate. And I feel like if you make a internally on how you're going to operate, nothing else is going to matter, because internally you've already satisfied I'm going to do it to this degree. I'm going to do it to this level because it is important to you and because you've actually taken the ownership, that responsibility on. So standard is literally, some people make that outward decision and like, oh, I'm going to make it be like this. And some people make that internal decision that it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how, the level in which I, do whatever if I'm making something, maybe it's a product, a tangible product. If I'm doing a tangible service and I'm giving a talk, you automatically make that decision within you that I want to make sure that I'm giving the best every time I show up, whether it's in this product or whether it's in the service that I'm providing to the person. So
I really like how you clarified that this is an inner standard. Of course, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, like you want to do research in the marketplace and seeing if you even have a viable product and if people are even going to want the product. So I think it's very easy to like have an external standard. And like, for example, when I started podcasting, I had an inner standard. I knew what I was doing it for specifically. I wanted to network. I wanted to do market research. Now, of course, I went on many detours throughout the years, but 1 year later, I've come back to center and here I am. I have a book coming out. Like I know what I want now, but I don't regret the journey. But what I'm trying to say is I did start off that way.
Yeah.
And I think it was very innocent, but I think people were projecting what they assumed who I was as a podcaster. Like they assume like, oh, like you make a full business out of podcasting. Like you have advertisers, you have sponsors. And I'm like, well, my number one sponsor is my company because my show is my number one, like the show is a marketing expense for our company. And I always felt like people, I don't think they judged me, but like, I think I helped give them a bigger perspective of the various ways that you could be a podcaster because like I said, I see it more as networking and relationship building and market research. And I'm glad that I had that inner standard because it could have been very easy to like feel, let's say, inadequate because I don't have like paying sponsors. So I don't have like, I don't have like a million listeners. Like I'm very niche and I feel good about that. Like I feel good. I feel content. My bills are paid for, like I'm getting what I want out of this experience. So I love that you put an emphasis on an inner standard, not just like not an external standard, but an inner standard, because like you said, it's like once you have that foundation in you, once you have that like that strong foundation of this is what I want to get out of it. And of course you can pivot and change and improve things, but that's on your terms, not because someone is pressuring you or because you're just going with the flow and following other people's standards of, what success or a certain way of doing business means to them. So I really love how you specified an inner standard specifically.
Right. Now, I want to say that is not the easiest thing to do. By no means. It's easy to make this and to say that I want to do things to whatever degree, but there will come a time in your journey where you will say, I don't have this amount of money to pay of you. And you might have to make a decision. And in that decision, it could be the money. So that's why I said it's important to have that inner standard, because when you have to choose, you definitely want to choose that inner standard, because ultimately once you choose that, things will unfold the way they're supposed to. There's been in my business where that has, and I just used to just put stuff out there just because it would make me money. That wasn't the goal, because my goal is I saw a problem that I wanted to solve. So I didn't feel that what I was doing is, it could solve a problem, but not the goal of solving the problem that I envisioned. So because it didn't do that, I'm just not do it until I see that of solving the problem in the way that I know, that I can solve that, I can solve that problem. So you'll come to a fork in the road. So again, if you don't check yourself in the beginning, starting with the mind and really grabbing hold to having clear understanding and taking on that authority, that standard, it will, it'll catch you up at some point if you allow it to. So
yeah, for sure. It kind of reminds me of a phrase, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Yes. And I like this idea of like if for whatever reason you do get to, your standards get challenged, it's a great opportunity to go back to the mindset and, remind yourself, like, what is your mission, your vision, your purpose? And I think like reinforce that and remind yourself like, oh, this is my standard. These are my values. This is what I'm trying to do. So I just love that. To me, it sounds like each word in your framework build upon each other.
They do. Yeah. It is one. You can't just take the one and say you're going to run with it. It doesn't work like that. You have to do them all, and you actually have to do them in order. So if you do them out of order, it's still not going to work. They have to be in that order in order for you to, and again, it depends on what you're looking for in the end. If your end goal is not to say that, I see this problem that, this group is having, and I hate what it's doing for them in their life and how it's, challenging their freedoms and their all of the things that you want as an individual. If that is not your ultimate thing that you see, which most entrepreneurs it is, and that's why we get so lost in the sauce, because we're like, I just gotta help them. But there is a way, there is still some balance to that. But again, it has to be done in order for you to really reach that goal that you see.
All right. And we are going to stop right there in Keyani's interview to continue the third and final part in our exclusive private podcast, in which you can subscribe to now by visiting us at insidethefort.com. So if you enjoyed the first two parts of Keyani's interview, episode 225 and 226, you're definitely going to love part 3. Just to give you a sneak preview, in part 3, we finish up Keyani's Mrs. P framework with the letter P, and we give more examples of how Mrs. P framework can apply to your professional and personal life. And we preview one of the first things you can do to apply the Mrs. P framework by using Keyani's You Set the Meaning 7-day journal. So if you want to learn more about that now, you can upgrade your membership for Holding Down the Fort. It's very easy and it's free. You're welcome. I know you were thinking it. All you have to do is subscribe if you haven't already at insidethefort.com. And in the welcome email, it'll show you immediately how to upgrade your membership to become a Holding Down the Fort insider. And to become an insider gives you access to our private podcast, Inside the Fort by US VetWealth. So we will continue part 3 of Keyani's interview in our private podcast, Inside the Fort. Other than that, I want to thank you so much for listening. And if you want to learn more about Keyani, be sure to check out the show notes of this episode. If you don't know how to do that, simply visit insidethefort.com. Yes, I make it super easy for you, and you'll be able to get all the resources that were mentioned in our conversation in part 1 and part 2 of Keyani's interview. All right, we'll see you inside the fort, or we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for listening. If you're seeking a second opinion on the Survivor Benefit Plan, subscribe to our podcast now at insidethefort.com. That's insidethefort.com. Once you subscribe, you will receive a free download to the introduction of my book, The Military Spouse Benefit Plan. Why? Because you've spent years holding it down for your family, and we are dedicated to helping you own what's next. See you on the inside at insidethefort.com, or we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.